What is up, guys? I do hope you're well, and welcome to another video from the r/DaddyCringe subreddit. If you would like your story shared, don't forget to post it on r/DaddyCringe. If you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe button, and maybe even the notification bell. And let's get started. Now we have a story from NorCal Director 320. Entitled Mother Tries to Steal My Service Dog. English is my first language, but this is my first post, so I apologise for any mistakes. This is also a long post. So I live in North California, and I never expected to ever deal with entitled parents. I never thought that I would ever encounter an entitled parent, but boy was I wrong. I have a service dog because my whole life I have had schizophrenic psychotic issues, and I hear things that aren't always there, as well as some visual hallucinations. So as a result, I had my dog properly trained and certified. I've had her since I was 13 years old. I'm 18 now, but she's been my service dog for about a year now. So one day I was looking through Best Buy looking for camera lenses for an upcoming shoot in New York City I have coming up, and I was walking my service dog with me. She's a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, so she's very calm and focused while she's working, but she still loves everybody. I was looking at Canon lenses when I heard a kid behind me yell, "Puppy!" I've had kids go up to her before, and occasionally, depending on the situation, I'll allow children to gently pet her as long as I'm not having a panic attack of any kind. But while I was shopping, I was previously dealing with a breakdown from the night before, so I asked the kid not to touch her. This is the conversation that follows. Cast, me, Mr. Elephant. EM, you already know. EK, little shit stain. AW, awesome store worker. BF, best friend. EK, what's her name? Her name is Delilah, and she's working right now, so can you not pet her, please? This kid, of course, doesn't listen and goes to pet her. I quickly pull her away. The kid gets angry and shrieks as loud as he can, which hurt my ears. I start to walk away when I feel a hand grab my shoulder and turn me around. EM says, "What the fuck do you think you're doing with my baby?" Me, calmly, "Oh, he tried to pet my service dog, but I pulled her away because she's working." "Why does it matter if she's working? She's clearly a puppy, so my son should be able to pet her." My dog is 5 years old, but she's small enough to look like a puppy. "Mom, she's working right now, and you aren't supposed to let my son pet your stupid dog." "Not gonna do that. Have a nice day." I start to walk away when I feel her grab my dog's leash and pull, but I still have a strong grip. "Lady, what the fuck are you doing?" "You were rude to me, so I'm taking your dog as compensation." I don't like confrontation, as I tend to lash out at even the littlest inconvenience. I'm also super protective of my dog, as she's been attacked by other dogs / people in the past. So I grab Delilah in my arms and try to leave the store when I hear her yell, "Help! This rotten teenager stole my dog! Help!" This is where an awesome employee comes in. Awesome employee says, "Mum, I saw the whole thing," and points to the camera above us. "We have everything on camera. Now please leave before I call the police." "But he..." And I say, "My dog has an ID on her back in my name. I can also show you my driver's license so you can see that it's mine." The employee looks at both IDs, even though he already knew she was full of shit. "Mom, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave." "Mom, I want the dog." "Don't worry, sweetie, you'll get the dog." She tries to grab her from my arms, but the worker gets in between both of us. "Leave now, or I'll call the police." And I say, "I'm actually gonna get going. I'm sorry for causing trouble." I walk out the door and put her in my car and go home. I told my best friend what happened, and he thought I was full of shit. I wish I could be making this up, but these people are unpredictable at times. Thank fuck it didn't escalate any worse than that. Oh man. I know a couple of people that's got like these service dogs, and yeah, a lot of them wear like the coats that say "please don't pet, I'm working," and you still see children going up to them and trying to touch them, and the parents are quite happy to let that happen and just grin with some sort of total blank look on their face, and then you just think, what the fuck? Come on now. But yeah, totally feel for you, man. You must be going through some shit with that schizophrenic stuff, and that's all you need is an entitled parent on top of that. So I totally feel for you, and thank you so much for sharing that story. Really appreciated. Much love. Now we have a story from AK Chef. Entitled Grandma Gets Angry When Doctor's Office Won't Tell Her the Gender of Her Future Grandchild. So I posted this under r/EntitledParents, but I was also encouraged by a friend to post here too. We both love your channel, hope you enjoy. Thank you very much, really appreciated. Now, I've had my run-ins with entitled parents, but this is still fresh in my head. I wanted to share something I've witnessed rather than had to deal with directly. Cast as EG, entitled Grandma, and NL, Nice Lady. A couple of weeks ago, I was sitting in my doctor's office waiting to finish a glucose blood test. It's a blood test I have to take to test for gestational diabetes during my pregnancy, if anyone was curious. I was waiting to get my blood drawn and was sitting near the front desk. Next to the front desk was a door the nurses called you from to go to the different doctors' rooms. My time was almost near to go back when EG entered the lobby. At the time I was playing on my phone, but the lady didn't exactly have a quiet voice. This is what I hear. NL, who was running the front desk. "Good morning, how can I help you today?" "Yes, my daughter sees one of the doctors here. Her name is Lucy. I believe her doctor is Dr. Reddit." "Yes, I remember checking her in." "Well, my daughter had a gender reveal ultrasound, but she won't tell anyone what she's having, and I'm supposed to be planning a baby shower." Okay. Not gonna lie, at this point I kinda dropped my phone and was full on listening to what was being said. Who wouldn't? "Well, how can I plan a baby shower without knowing if it's a boy or a girl? Can you please look it up and tell me what it is?" "I'm sorry ma'am, but I can't give out any information in someone's file." "Oh come on, I'm not asking for personal information. I just want to know the gender of my first grandbaby." "I'm sorry, but I can't tell you. You will just have to ask your daughter about it." EG was actually pretty polite, until now. "This is ridiculous. I am her mother. I have a right to know these things." "Mom, your daughter is an adult. I cannot tell you anything without her permission." "But she won't give it to me." "I'm sorry, but the answer is no." EG slammed her hand on the counter, making me and NL jump. "Just tell me the gender and I'll be on my way." NL stood up and glared at the EG. "No, I will not tell you anything. Now leave before I call the police." I thought EG was going to explode, but she just turned and stomped out the office, yelling about how she was going to get NL fired. The few people that were waiting to be seen were either shaking their heads or laughing. A moment later, the nurse finally called my name. I didn't even realise until the dust had settled that the nurse actually came out a few minutes ago and ended up quietly watching the show as well. When I went back, I couldn't help but ask the nurse if that ever happened before. She told me that people always try to come in and ask, but she'd never seen a tantrum like that before. As I was leaving the office, the NL at the front desk seemed to be back to her cheery self. Sorry if this isn't the most exciting story, but I thought I'd share. I still thank God I didn't have parents or in-laws like that. Thanks for reading. Thank you for sharing. Oh my word. the fact that she claims it wasn't personal information. It's not personal information. I just want to know what someone else's baby gender is. I mean, fucking hell. That's so grandma-ish though, isn't it? Much love. Thank you very much for sharing that story. Now we have a story from Lightning Flower 01, entitled "Teacher Almost Assaulted Me." Hello everyone, I'm a fan of DaddyCringe, so I thought I'd post my story for this subreddit. I did post this in an answer to an Ask Reddit question, but I'm going to go into more detail. I apologise for grammar and formatting errors that might be here. Backstory, this took place when I was in 7th grade, so I was a 13-year-old girl. My middle school has these two magnet programs, the science magnet for students who are more science and math skilled, and the media magnet for students who really want to work in different types of media. I'm not sure if other schools around the world has these types of programs. I was in the science magnet, so we had field trips that had a lot of lab work attached to them. I'm saying that because this took place in one of our field trips. The teacher was my 7th grade science teacher, and we call her Mrs. L, short for Mrs. Loca, which is Spanish for crazy lady. I thought I should explain that just in case. Mrs. L was an old lady that was okay to be around sometimes, but there were a lot of times she was a scary person to be around, and I was constantly worried for mine and my classmates' safety. She was holding back her anger because she was the oldest science teacher in our middle school and had to set an example for the other teachers, math, English or other teachers in the program. Even a lot of the teachers were way better than her. This happened during a field trip to our local river because we were studying pH levels in the river water. I don't remember much of the trip because this happened almost a decade ago. I'm 21. So I'm not going to have really any dialogue. I'm just being honest. So, the trip was better than I expected, which means everyone was getting along and having fun with the group lab report we was given to work on. I actually felt okay being around my classmates, which is saying a lot because I was bullied so much in middle school and had a lot of problems at home that I was extremely depressed and suicidal. However, the end of the trip ruined the whole day for me, my classmates and my other teachers because of Mrs. L. So at the end of the trip, we had to wait for the buses to come pick us up to take us back to school. I was standing under the shade with Mrs. L and a couple of my classmates because we live in New Mexico, and this took place in the afternoon and summer was a couple of months away. So yeah, it was freaking hot. Also, this was the time of day that dragonflies came out. This is important for later. I was just talking to Mrs. L and my classmates when Mrs. L suddenly stopped talking and was staring at me very intensely. I got incredibly uncomfortable and was going to her, "What's wrong?" But before I could speak, she said, "Be quiet and don't move," and started reaching for my left shoulder. I was confused and turned to look at my shoulder and I saw a giant dragonfly sitting on my shoulder. Now, I'm terrified of bugs, all type of bugs. I can't even look at a butterfly unless I'm 10 feet away from it, so I was immediately scared out of my mind. I tried to stay still so she'd grab it away from me, but I instantly started freaking out and shaking it off of me. When it flew away, Mrs. L got right in my face and started screaming at me for letting the snake food escape. We had 2 snakes as class pets. During the screaming, she started backing me up towards the river and raised her hand to slap me. This was scary for 2 reasons. Number 1, I could have fallen into the river and died because I can't swim. Number 2, in my house, physical abuse was very common to happen because my mum was/is incredibly unstable when it comes to anger and would take her anger out on me if I was even in the same room as her. My grandma was physically abusive as well. I was so scared I started screaming at her not to hurt me. My classmates, around 30 to 40 kids, also started screaming at Mrs. L to leave me alone, and that got the attention of the other teachers. The English teacher pulled Mrs. L away from me, while the history teacher and my friends were pulling me to one of the picnic tables to calm me down and make sure I was okay. I put that Mrs. L was entitled in the title because she tried to justify that what she was doing was fine and that everyone was overreacting. No, moron. What you did almost ended up with me getting assaulted and or dying in the river over a stupid dragonfly. No one was believing her BS. She just huffed and went to wait by the road to check when the buses should come. When the buses came, my teachers and friend made sure I was far away from Mrs. L while I was still crying. Everyone was so angry at Mrs. L and she ruined the fun we had that day. I did tell my mum what happened and she was pissed. She went to school to scream at Mrs. L for trying to hurt me and threatened to beat Mrs. L until she was bleeding out on the floor. My mum can be very protective of me. I don't remember if Mrs. L got any consequences for this event, but she was scared of my mum. But she didn't learn her lesson. That's another story on its own. Sorry this was so long. I didn't know how to shorten it. If you guys want, I can go through the other story with Mrs. L in a different post. Of course, share away. But holy shit, what teacher goes to hit a child, man? What goes through their head? It must be some intense rage, but over catching the dragonfly, I mean, come on now. The dragonfly can't be that important. You must get some snake food from some shops. You're not relying on catching bugs out in the wild to feed these snakes, surely. I found it a bit ironic that your mum was trying to be protective of you as well when she's abusive herself, which I'm kind of sad and really sorry if she still is. You need to do something about that because it's not on. But anyway, dude, much love for sharing that story. Well, 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 look who it is. Miss Lucid Dreams again. Entitled Karen tries to bully nurse and accuses me of being satanic. Okay, I just want to give a huge thanks to DaddyCringe for reading my last post in such a great way. You're very welcome. On to the story. Cast, EK entitled Karen. NN, nice nurse. Me, the crazy one who sat on a hot belt buckle. I saw that in the Reddit. If you haven't seen that, go into the Reddit and see this picture of Miss Lucid Dreams burn. That is crazy. So I sat on a very hot seatbelt buckle and burnt myself pretty badly. Hope the picture shows up. It is low enough to see below my shorts. It was not healing properly. I don't know why. So I called my doctor and he said come on in. As I was waiting to pay my copay, a woman in front of me began to argue with the nurse about the copay. I don't know what that is, but I'm hoping I got it right. Now, you have to understand that this woman had the Karen look we all know too well. Just for mental imaging. Here is the conversation. EK said, "What do you mean I have to pay a copay? This is pissing me off. The insurance company pays that." Yep, she said that. The nice nurse then said, "Mom, that would still be a bill, but you still owe a copay." Me, "I'm in pain. Can I pay?" Nice nurse then says, "Sure, sweetie." I pay and walk off when I hear a loud gasp. I smile to myself because I have no clue what is about to go down, but I'm sure I'm going to tell DaddyCringe about it. I turn around and say, "Yes?" The entitled Karen then says, "How dare you come in here with your satanic symbols?" My burn. Nice nurse turns around and says, "Mom, please pay or leave." And then I say, "You shitting me? There are people who are easily influenced by signs," and I interrupt her and say, "Hey, I don't piss in your pool, so don't shit on my cake." What? I've never heard that before. She just got quiet. I was called back by another nurse. I got cream and feel better. Hope the picture shows up, so you can see it looks like a seatbelt buckle. Some may ask why I did say that. If you throw crazy at crazy, it throws them off. And DaddyCringe, I want an autographed picture, for free. Sincerely, your biggest fan. You're going to be going on r/choosing beggars if you carry on, Lucid. I'm watching you. And here's the picture of Lucid's burn. Very satanic. Thank you very much for sharing once again, Lucid. Much love.